I'm going to stand because I'm going to be on the board.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, now.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Frank here over at Medicare Gurus. Coming to you live in the middle of allergy season and back from vacation. So you have to forgive me if I start coughing or expelling some of these allergens that got on my chest. Real quick, just a quick nod on there. How's everyone doing today? Good? Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. All right. So I've been reading your feedback, and some of y'all noticed that on Guru Central, I have started to reply back now that I'm back from vacation on some of the questions that you guys have, as well as some of the feedback on the stories that have been posted so far. It's really great stuff, and I'd like you guys to continue doing that. I really appreciate y'all sharing, and I appreciate also Grip for stepping in and making sure a lot of those questions are answered, giving great feedback on everything as well as everyone else. So just remember, guys, the more we share, the more we learn. So today I want to cover a specific topic, which is something that I've been getting recurring, and I got a lot of messages for when I was gone. And that is going to be, well, it's multi-tier, but really what it comes down to is how are we going to dispel or get over people's preconceived notions or the misinformation they've already gotten about products and plans when I'm trying to help you. All right, it's very hard for agents to get over, someone that has a set notion in mind, which is, well, an Advantage plan does this, and it just doesn't, right? How do you fight that misinformation? Better yet, how do you just fight a preconceived notion or get someone that's past that blocker to where they'll actually listen to you because you're trying to help? So the first thing to understand on this is that no one is ever going to make a sale by having an argument, right? No one ever wins an argument. Who here has been married? Did I win a single argument? No. Even if I quote unquote won, people are still angry. They don't feel right about it. Even if they acquiesce, they just did it because they're tired and they still don't feel good about it, and it's going to be redressed later. That's not going to be a lifelong client for you, right? You can't just badger someone into buying, especially on a service-oriented and recurring revenue-oriented product like ours. It's not like a car where after 3 days in the state of Texas, they're kind of stuck with it until they find another car. Insurance policies, especially Medicare supplements, are month to month. So they got to be happy with you in the purchase, not just the product. So we know that we're not going to win an argument and make a sale, right? So how do we avoid getting into those arguments? How do we just not lose in this scenario? Well, first we got to take a look at really the makeup of what a really great agent is made of, right? So as you see, I already have the board ready for you guys. And can we, is there any glare on the board? We're good? Okay, good. All right. Now, generally speaking, if you're going to be a competent and successful agent, you need to focus on a makeup of a personality traits or the goals of how you want to develop your personality as an agent into 3 major sectors, right? And they're very simple. Now, bear in mind, this is mostly just from my experience. If you guys have extra things that you have read or want to contribute, please go ahead and do so. That's way too big. We're going to do a good old Venn diagram. Yay. Everyone who's ever been through a PowerPoint presentation seen 50 of these. All right. Now, the 3 components you're going to need to focus on as an agent, and these are self-development issues, guys. These are not just conceptual things that are matters of, oh, well, I said this, so therefore you need to do this. These are things that you really need to hone and focus and actually take stock of what you're doing in every interaction. Number 1 is competence. That's the first circle you got to work on. Are you competent in your field? Do you have the product knowledge? Do you know how those actual features and benefits benefit people? Have you done your studying? Do you know Medicare? Do you know subs? Do you know Advantage plans? Do you know the locations and the realities of the situation on the ground in the communities that you're servicing? All of those things feed into competence. All right, and the next one, make this a little clearer, is confidence. Are you confident in what you know and what you're doing? Better yet, are you confident in your motivations of why you're doing it? Right? Do you have a clear purpose in your interaction with these people? Can you legitimately tell them as if they were right in front of you and look into their eye and go, I'm here to help you first. We'll worry about the other stuff next. Are you confident in how competent you are? Because I'll tell you right now, you cannot have confidence without competence, right? Not true confidence. If you don't know your stuff, you know it, and you know you don't know it, and it bleeds through. Third circle, all right, I'll make this a little bigger, is ego. Okay. All right. Now, ego is your self-image, right? It's how your brain actually interprets your subconscious and your conscious mind, all the psychology is junk and all that garbage. It doesn't matter. It's how you view yourself. And it's how you project that view and how you interpret that view of the world around you according to that view. Now, the diagram at this point is a little bit deceptive, okay? Because they're not balanced. There's a lot of agents out there that think they are hot shit. They have that super strong ego, right? There are a lot of agents that are super competent, but they lack confidence, right? And there's people that are confident, and really confidence without any foundation is just ego. So here's how the breakdown of these personality traits contribute to your sales. About 45% is going to be competence. 45% is going to be confidence in what you know and the reasons why you do what you do and your motivations, right? 10% is ego. Now, a lot of people out in the world over there are going to tell you that it's all about, you got to fake it till you make it. You got to have that self-worth. You have to have all that. I get it. The first step is thinking that you can do something and having that self-image that you can succeed. However, we're not talking about you in this interaction. We're talking about how you're interacting with a person on the phone or face-to-face. And remember, it is not about you at that point. You're not buying this from yourself. You already sold yourself on the ability to do it or the ability not to. So ego at this point in the game is minor. In fact, ego, right, and defending that ego actually hurts you. So when we look at the breakdown, and let's just imagine these percentage points lead up to a successful conversation about Medicare. In other words, a sale. Well, I can get you halfway there if you got ego and confidence. I'm sorry, 55%. Oops. Get you halfway there if you got a lot of ego and a lot of competence. However, I can get you to 90% if you are divested of ego and you're only working and focusing on the competence, knowing what you do, and the confidence in what you do. I don't care about your self-worth at that point. Not in this conversation, because it's not about you again. And then if you get a good blend of all of them, you're going to hit it every time. You'll know at the end of that conversation you did everything right, and that person just could not do it. It doesn't matter what you say. It matters if you know what you're talking about and if you're confident in it. Ego accounts for only about 10% of all of it, even in a perfect presentation. So what does that mean for everybody here? That means if you're going to be successful in this industry, you need to focus on the things that are going to be the primary returns for you. You got to spend more on the things that benefit you the most. That means you got to divest yourself of ego first, because you're not going to be able to focus on all three at once, right? Choose one. I always go with competence. Learn your stuff first, because that feeds confidence. But if you want to be confident first in what you actually know, and at least your motivations in what you do, and you want to focus on that human interaction of conveying the reasons what you do, you'll have more success than just focusing on, I'm badass for no reason. So you have to, when you get into a conversation with somebody and they start off, go, it's not about me. I don't have an ego to defend. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not going to get into an argument about you to justify my own existence. I'm not going to get into an argument with you to make myself feel better because I'm right and you're just dumb. You have to divest yourself of ego, period, if you're going to have success on this. And it's not just in sales where this works, by the way. This is also where leadership is formed. Great leaders have almost no ego, right? It's the guys that sit there and go, well, yeah, my unit's successful because of me. Well, you're not a leader. The guy that goes, oh, well, I would love this promotion, but really Staff Sergeant McGregor and Corporal Hewins, they're the ones that saved the day. Give them a promotion. Those are the guys that have people follow them. And that's what you're trying to do in a presentation. You're trying to get someone to follow you to a resolution. So get rid of your ego first in a conversation, period. That'll get you here. And then once you actually have mastered all this stuff personally and you don't really care anymore, well, then that is ego coming in and you'll be right up here. But no matter what, you're in that place. So let's talk a little bit about what divesting yourself from ego will allow you to do. Right? So we saw a great example of this on Guru Central where one of the gentlemen had called up and caught a family right when they were prepping for a funeral. Now, someone with a higher ego would have tried to push through, right? They would have tried to go ahead and tell this person, well, that's okay, I'm sorry, and then they would try to push through, or they would have tried to bail on it because they have a fragile ego. They want to protect it. No, he divested himself from the conversation. It wasn't about him, and he stayed on the line with him. He's going to make the sale on them now. He has appointments with the survivors, and he's probably going to sell multiple products. That's a good example of how that works. Now, by doing that, it also is going to have a secondary thing, and that's the topic of our conversation today. How do I win an argument by not getting in an argument? Right? The little ways where you can get people engaged in a conversation or cue in on the things that are really, really, really messing with them and immediately get on their side and get them over to your side very quickly. So, if you divest yourself from ego, it's going to free you up to do a few things. Number one, it's going to free you up to listen to them and let them talk all the way through. Now, when we talk about this and listening to them, I want you to imagine someone who is saying absolute garbage, something that you know to be absolutely foundationally untrue. Imagine this. Everyone in here has had this. Well, my nephew has an insurance license. He sold me my car policy, and he said all the supplement plans are this. It doesn't matter what it is, and that's just like an advantage plan. And you've talked to them, and you cannot divest them from that notion, right? Because you keep on giving them facts, right? I see someone laughing back there. Yeah, right? You're like, no, it's this. And you're literally reading from the book that you know it's bullshit, and they don't believe you, right? Because you're in an argument at that point. No one likes to lose an argument. So here are some tips how to get behind that. Someone keeps on throwing up, and they're throwing up that barrier. When they start giving you excuses to why they shouldn't be talking to you, that's actually a good thing. That's an invitation for me to start listening to them. And actually, that's the point at which you're actually engaging in a conversation. So step number one. Listen. And do not interrupt. Let them make their full thought. Right? Do not interrupt. Do not interject. Do not try to slide in a fact because you know that that is a fact that is pertinent to what they just said right now. Let them go. Okay? Let them go. Do not stop them. Number two, actively listen. And take notes. You'll notice there's going to be a recurring theme in these points. You listen over and over again. It's on purpose. You want to take notes, not just mental notes, but I would be writing down when this happens. Because once they're done and they've forgotten what they just said a minute ago, step 3 comes in. On step 3, you're going to repeat what they said to them exactly. Okay? Whatever fallacies they said, you're not going to try to interpret, you're not going to try to do this. You're going to give the most accurate representation of the exact thing that they said. Now, you don't have to go through the next 5 or 10 minutes that they were babbling on, but those points at which you actually are about to address, you need to repeat exactly as they said. Okay? Don't pull the journalist trick or the other stuff. It's like, so what you really mean is, no, they said what they meant. And I'll get to the reason why that's important here in a minute. Actually, you know what? Right now, listen, do not interrupt. Actively listen and take notes. Repeat exactly what they said to the exact. Let me take a second here. I'm going to tell you why these 3 steps are critically important to the whole process. Human beings have various verbal, visual cues, right? Now, we are only operating off the verbal at this point. So when someone's just staring at a wall or television talking to you, they're not giving you their full attention, or they're having to heavily rely on the verbal cues. Now, when someone's talking to you, right, they need to be listened to. And in fact, it's a survival component that, especially if someone's, well, let's just call it what it is. If someone's whining and complaining, they're in pain. There's a reason why when people cry, and you especially get into that ugly cry, right? There's not a moan, it's not a sob. They howl. There's right?
It's a wailing.
It's a wailing.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing animals in pain do. It's a cry. It's a warning sign, and it's also, I need help. I need someone to hear this. People also do that because our language is more complicated as we have gotten dumber. And we do it and manifest that in different ways. Sometimes it's just a random tort of bitching. Sometimes it's just, you ever been next to someone, you're like, why are you opening up on me? Like, well, because they need to do it. They need to be heard. And that's the key. They need to be heard, right? They need to be heard. Not necessarily understood at this point, but heard. I need to know that someone's doing this. I need to know that someone is paying attention, that this is happening. And it's not just when they're in pain, but it's also when they're just trying to communicate, period. There is nothing more annoying, and I'm sure everyone on the phone, on this dojo right now can understand this, than being ignored. You're invalidating me as a person. I'm not worth being listened. All you have to do is sit on your ass and not say anything for a minute, and you can't even do that for me. I'm not worth that. It's so annoying, right? So when you listen to someone, you're validating them. You're saying, you are worth my time to listen. It feels good to do that. And people want to stay on the phone with you when they feel good on the phone with you. Actively listen and take notes. Well, it's not just enough to let someone speak. They want to actually be heard. You might not be at the point right now where you understand what they're saying. They might not understand what they're saying. In fact, usually they don't. But we're going to take that extra step. So when we actively listen and we take notes, that's going to prep us for our next step. And this is how you diffuse an argument before it ever happens. You repeat exactly what they said, exactly. Because by doing that, not only have I said, hey, I was being quiet, but I wasn't just waiting my turn to talk. I'm actively listening to you. I'm valuing what you're saying, and I'm making the attempt to try to understand you. Because I give a shit about you. Right? So, for example, we've heard some crazy stuff. Grip, what's one of the crazier things you've heard?
Involving Medicare in conversations, or just
Whatever,
in life?
yeah. Let's keep the personal life.
Okay, right. I mean, the craziest thing I've heard recently.
Let's keep it clean.
Of course. So just put me on the spot here. A crazy thing that I have heard recently is that just staying in Medicare is that if someone is doing a Medicare Advantage plan, that is going to do the same thing as a supplement.
Okay. So give me a scenario right now.
Mm.
Like, how did you get that information? Just make up the whole scenario of like, we're engaged in a conversation and you're trying to brush me off.
Okay. Right. So basically what happened was I talked to an agent, called me on the phone.
Just really pretend.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm just pretending. Yeah. Oh, so I'm the person?
Yeah. You're
Okay.
the person.
Oh, yeah. I talked to somebody on the phone and they told me that I want to get a supplement. And they're like, oh, the Advantage plan and the supplement do the same thing. You basically just get the Advantage plan. You go to any doctor you want. You can check to see the network, but it won't really matter. And you can get all the bills taken care of. It won't cost you any premium. You may have to pay some co-pays and deductibles. But that's what they told me. And I said, okay, that sounds awesome.
Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go to the response on that.
Okay.
All right. So my immediate response as a junior agent would be, no, that's not true. That's the end of the conversation.
Right.
Now I'm just saying you don't know what the hell you're talking about and you're a liar, and whoever told you that's also a liar, even if it's a loved one.
Right.
That conversation is not going to go anywhere. I can be on the phone for an hour and a half and I'm not going to sell that.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine this scenario here. Just hit those high points right now again.
Well, I talked to an agent and they told me that I was interested in Medicare supplement. And they told me that Advantage plan was the same thing, that you would get enrolled in a plan and you could go to any doctor that you wanted. And the only thing you have to be that would be different because it's a free plan is that you just pay co-pays and deductibles. And that sounded pretty interesting to me.
Okay, because that's a lot here. Hold on a sec. So I want to make sure I got this straight. So you talked to an agent. He said Advantage plans and supplement plans are the same thing, right?
Correct.
Okay. And he also said that you don't have to pay anything, or you can go to any doctor that you want.
Pretty
Correct?
much, yeah. They said if I get a PPO, I can get any doctor I want.
Okay. And that you only have to worry about paying co-pays and deductibles and nothing else?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. And that's it. It's just, you said it's a better option.
It's a better option. It's a less expensive option.
Okay. Okay. So I understand you're right.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So I think there's been a miscommunication here. I think there's some stuff we should probably clear up.
Okay.
Different interaction.
Right.
That comes to the next step, and you guys heard me do this with grip. Number 4. Get them to agree to what they said. You notice I wasn't recharacterizing or trying to pivot to what Grip was saying. I was just reiterating his points, and I was making him go, so that's what you said, right? That's what you said, right? I am making him understand and making him say, hey, I understand as the client that you listened to me, and you are actually giving me the things that I gave you back because you listened. And I'm agreeing to that as my understanding. We are now on the same page on this conversation, right? I understand where you're coming from, right? And now you'll listen to where I'm coming from because I'm not brushing you off. You guys see what I'm saying? All right. Now that's very important that you do that because it validates everything else you've done so far. That's how you show that you have actively listened and you didn't interrupt. That's how you show that you've done, taken notes, that you repeat exactly what they said. Then you get them to agree that what you said is exactly what they said. Now, at that point, once you've done these things, you can go on. You can make your presentation. You can make your points about why that thing that they think is happening really isn't there. Right? But you can't do any of this stuff if you're so fragile in your ego that you just want to make your point. Because you try to rush it. You have to divest yourself of ego to be able to do this. And if you do this, they're going to enjoy talking to you because while you're doing this part and you listen to them and then you validate, you reiterate what they said, you didn't agree with it. You just said, hey, this is what you're saying, right? And not in an accusatory fashion, Like, oh, so you're saying I'm an asshole, huh? No, don't do that. Right? But you get in there and you actually make that connection on this subject, what you're talking about, what you're trying to tell me that your understanding of the world is, I'm hearing you and I'm understanding what you're saying. Now, we might not agree, but we're going to have a good conversation about it. I'm going to try to get you to my side. Not push you, not pull you. I'm not here to change you. I'm just here to help you. And to help you, I have to understand you. I have to understand what you know. So you can't do that with ego. That's why competence is incredibly important, because it feeds your confidence. And quite frankly, are you going to be able to do this if you're not confident? Because these guys, when you're listening to what they're saying, they're going to say all sorts of stuff that doesn't matter. They're going to come up with all sorts of crazy that they've been told. Or they're going to start talking about stuff that has nothing to do with the product lines or the insurance itself, which is wonderful, by the way. You should let them do that. Can't tell you how many political conversations or religious conversations and all this stuff, all the third rails that most salespeople say to avoid. I hear stuff all the time, and I don't agree with any of it. But I don't invalidate them by trying to move off of it. I go through the steps right here, and then we never have an argument about it. So that's basically how you can actively listen and implement and reiterate that you've listened. That will head off so many problems. So I've gone a little long on this, but it's a little bit of a complicated situation.
No, that's good, because what we'll do now at this time is that we sign off on the public video and then we turn it over to agents to ask questions.
All right. So as you can tell, I'm already losing my voice again.
Yeah.
But guys, I can, trust me, if you divest yourself from your ego when that conversation starts, right? And you've already built a foundation of competence, the confidence is going to follow. It's going to let you do even more. Right? And this isn't one of those feel good about yourself things. These are concrete steps in a conversation process. Practice this in your real life. You have no idea how great human interactions go, even with strangers, when you follow this. It's absolutely amazing.
Sign off.
So again, this has been Frank Bryant here with Medicare Gurus, signing off for the public content. Agents, stay behind here for the Q&A session. And I'd love to hear how things have been going the last 2 weeks. So everybody out there, have a great day.